Hello, everybody. All right, so it's Wednesday night, Hump Day, of course. Um, of course, we're gonna give people a chance to come in here. Um, give people a chance to come in. As always, guys, if you haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention that we talk about, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best. I'll try to answer the best questions to the best of my abilities. So, like I said, we're just gonna give people a chance to come in before we get started. Um, huh. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. Find adventure that's beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears. All right, so we do have, I guess, three people in here now. So I guess we can go ahead and let's talk a little bit about what's on tap for tonight. So I've got one article to go over from Bleeding Fool. Um, you know, an op-ed from Avi Green in regards to free comic. I guess there was some kind of action report that came out, and so he, giving reporting on it, giving his opinion on something. Also, of course, we do have the wrestling wrap up. Quite a bit of has happened the last couple of days here on the WWE front, AEW, TNA, and NWA. We'll of course talk about what happened on NXT last night, as well as happened on NWA Power on the CW, as well as kind of get everybody kind of caught up with some of the events coming up. Of course, we have Clash at the Castle coming up a week from this Saturday in Scotland from WWE. The following day on Sunday, of course, TNA has its Against All Odds pay per view, and then 2 weeks after that, AEW it will have its Forbidden Door pay per view. It's kind of co promotional show with New Japan. Um, Also talk a little bit about what's on tap for tonight in terms of for Dynamite, as well as let's see. Well, I was talking about, as I said, getting kind of caught up with, what's going on in the NWA. And then, of course, we'll have the This Day in Each History segment coming up at the end of the show as well. Some interesting stuff, more recent history, as it were. Um, so as we come up on 4 minutes, I guess I'll just go ahead and get started now. And I did send the link out to Rick tonight. I don't know what happened. Didn't hear, I would imagine he was planning on being here, but something may have happened. I don't know. I hope everything's okay, obviously. But with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started here? You know, check one more. All right. So, all right. So here we go. Let's get started with the article then here. So here we go. Op-ed Free Comic Book Day After Action Report. Article by Avi Green, published June 5th, 2024. So published today, basically. So, let's go ahead and get into this then. see if there's any comments yet. As always, guys, of course, first off, if you haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So now let's get into this. So the SFSU's Golden Gate Express interview. So I'm guessing that's some kind of. If what I'm guessing is true, that might be San Francisco State University, or sometimes referred to also as Cal State San Francisco. That's what I'm guessing it might be, but so I guess they're a college paper here. Interviewed Joe Field, a comics industry specialist who worked at one point for Marvel Comics and helped launch Free Comic Book Day, which he talks about in the latter part of the, in smaller quotes here, Gator Talk podcast. Matthew Ali at 16:51. I guess at 16 minutes 51 seconds into the show. So after you know the first free comic, actually tell me about the first Free Comic Book Day. How did that go? What was that like? Joe Field at 16:59 here. This is, of course, from the interview from this Golden Gate Express paper, as it were. Well, I'll tell you, the meeting that solidified that we were going to do Free Comic Book Day happened just about 3 weeks after 9/11 in early October of 2001. There was a convention in Las Vegas, and that convention became the first flight out of New York for a lot of publishers, okay, and a lot of people in the business of comics. And things at that point were still on a pretty raw edge based upon the attacks that had happened on 9/11. So there was already some talk just in the days after 9/11 that the comic book industry would have some benefit books to help victims and to support the effort to rebuild and all of that. And then continuing on, I guess, with the article here. Hey there, Gators are South Florida. Well, no, Gators are Florida, not South Florida. South Florida, I think, is something else altogether. If you're thinking of the Florida Gators, now, it is possible that, as I said, San Francisco, I don't know what exactly they're called, but San Francisco State University could be called the Gators. I don't know. I haven't, watched, obviously, any of their sports in a while. But, the thing is that the newspaper this is for, right? The newspaper this is for is the Golden Gate Express, which the Golden Gate is associated with San Francisco. So SFSU is most likely San Francisco State University or Cal State San Francisco, whichever way you want to put it. So, anyways. So there was a growing camaraderie that had not been there. Previously, most publishers wouldn't talk to other publishers about what their plans were, wouldn't work together, that sort of thing. Of course not, because they're in competition with each other, right? That's a natural thing. You don't necessarily want to give your trade secrets away to your competitor so they can sweep in and take advantage of it. Let's see. But at the meeting we had at that convention in Vegas, which was attended by the 4 large publishers, Marvel, DC, Image, and Dark Horse, as well as representatives from the Diamond Comic distributors and my publisher, and I might be forgetting one or two other people. But at that meeting, it was decided that we would do the promotion. And then the discussion became when do we do it? What's the specific day? And my original idea was, stealing from Baskin Robbins, um, again, was to do an evening rather than a full day, but do it sometime in April. Um, and Jim Valentino was then the publisher of Image Comics, and he said, there's this big budget Spider-Man movie coming the first weekend of May, and there's going to be a lot of publicity attached to that. We could probably get a lot of publicity for Free Comic Book Day if we did that same weekend, which that's kind of a bright idea. So that wasn't sort of a magnanimous thing for a competing publisher to offer, but all the other publishers went along with it. Said, quote, "Yeah, that makes sense," unquote. Let's see. All right. So the first Free Comic Book Day was on May 4th, 2002. And that first Free Comic Book Day it's kind of a blur to me now. We had a good crowd of people here. I think we had maybe 600 people show up for it, which was a large crowd um, of us. Um, we had a couple of artist guests do signings. We started our tradition of having a Free Comic Book Day cake. It was a hit, was a really happy day. Okay, I think that was it was a all right. So I think they doubled up there. Really happy day, and we made so a lot of doubling up here. So, yeah, that usually will happen when mentally you're kind of stumbling a bit. Sometimes you get so caught up that you're just kind of, just playing out made a lot of people happy by giving away free comics. And I was even happier when some of those people returned on a regular basis to buy comics, but regularly. So the first free comic book day industry wide was met with a pretty resounding success, and it was almost immediately decided that it would happen again the following year. We've been on most years since we've been on the first Saturday in May. I think there are two exceptions: are the COVID years, and there was 2005. I think where we made in the middle of summer, and that didn't work for anybody. So we went back to the first Saturday in May the following year. So it sounds like they tried a little experiment in 2005. The experiment didn't work out for them, and that's where we are, and that's where it's meant to be. All right, some people, I guess Avi, I guess as he's typing this out, is probably like, ugh. Now back to the interview here. I guess. Hey, good night, Spoon. Let's see. We talking Gator fans? No, this article from Avi is an op-ed he's doing on I guess Free Comic Book Day after an action report, I guess. I guess this is an interview that was printed in SFSU's Golden Gate Express. I'm guessing that's a college newspaper for San Francisco State University. Um, because it came from the Gator podcast, I think Elk had assumed that they must have been thinking of Florida Gators, even though he said the South Florida University of South Florida, they're the Bulls, and then there's the Florida Gators. But considering that the Golden Gate Express and Golden Gate is naturally assumed to be San Francisco, that's where it basically was. Why I think it's San Francisco State University. I should warn you, I do have a migraine. All right. Well, take it easy. If you can, take some ibuprofen. See if that helps. Um, anyways, getting back to the article here. Matthew Ali at the 2025 mark here. Since then, how has your work with Free Comic Book Day? How has that affected the overall industry from your perspective? Then at 2033 here, Joe Field responds, well, I can't take all the credit for that or even a majority of the credit, because I'm more of a consultant to what happens on Free Comic Book Day now rather than actually doing all the work. Diamond Comics still does a good chunk of the work. There are the publishers generally put their best foot forward on with the materials that the comics they put together for the event. There are a lot of creative personnel, writers, and artists that participate every year. What my role is now is that I'm involved in the selection process for which comics get added to Free Comic Book Day and which ones don't. Um, and there are always a lot more applications to be a part of Free Comic Book Day than then we can reasonably allow into the event. So it's basically my job to disappoint a lot of publishers who want to participate but don't get the pass in. So he's playing kind of a gatekeeper almost. So I'm involved with that. I'm involved in with. I have a feeling that Avi must have been like tired or something like that, or his eyes must have been dropping because there's a lot of double ups here typing wise. Like, and you guys have seen me do it sometimes. Sometimes I'll be stuck and I'll like be stuck on something. I'll be repeating myself a couple times too before I snap through it. Or Rick has to like usually, complete the sentence for me or something like that. Danke Shane. You should have used Grammarly, huh? So, anyways, let's see now. Let's see. So I'm involved. Okay, yeah, we already read that part. Obviously, putting our. Let's see. Okay, all right. So I'm involved with that. I'm involved with obviously putting our event together here at Flying Colors, and then do a little consulting with other retailers around the country, actually around the world. At this point, for any questions that they might have related to the event. So Now that's as much the article. So now here's Avi, I guess, responding to what has been presented here. See what Avi has to say here. First, it's a noble mission to produce comics to benefit 9/11 victims. Parentheses, although there were a number of Marvel and DC items at the time that were so left wing, they wound up doing more harm than good for the subject. Unparentheses. But that said, it's decidedly not great if Diamond oversaw Free Comic Book Day over the past 2 decades, considering the damage the monopoly they had on distribution did to comicdom for many years. At the same time, it's appalling if any retailers wouldn't seek better distribution and let their profession be turned into a mockery. Let's see what else. So, did you hear that Rick is making an AI mic to replace? I don't think so, but I haven't heard anything to that regard. But yeah, you're so funny there, Spoonie. Anyways, getting back to the article, of course. And while pamphlets, again, are not a good example for the future of the industry, what if it turned out conservative owned publishers were barred from participation in Free Comic Book Day based on their politics? In my opinion, if any publisher could afford to produce specials for the occasion, that obviously should be able to join. Yet, if Mr. Field's statement is any suggestion, it's possible there's right wingers who are blacklisted, and indeed, what if that's the case? Then Free Comic Book Day has a tragic dark side. Let's also ponder the image, that image, and Dark Horse aren't exactly known to be conservative friendly either. And even if Free Comic Book Day helped the median in the long run, which I don't think is the case, why do current publishers keep insisting on sticking with the pamphlet idea? They continue to miss a golden opportunity to shift to a more viable format in paperback hardcover. All right, so there we go with that. Let's see where we're at on time here, of course. We just passed the 20-minute mark here. Let's see, what else could I possibly do or talk about here? As an enthusiast of comics and whatnot, have you ever considered writing? I do actually have a script. I did read it one time on one of my previous streams, a long time ago. It's kind of in my, it's in a notebook in a drawer over here, over to my right. Um, more of a, it's more, well, my intent was, of course, to turn it more into like a manga, or at least writing a story. Obviously, I can't draw worth garbage. So, but, you know, my what I'd want to do, at least in terms of story writing, was to try, if I was to actually go through and actually try to publish what I got. Of course, I'd need to still write more of it. But I'd obviously need to hook up with an artist for one thing, and plus, as I said, it was, and what I had hoped to do with it was to take all the different genres and elements of like manga anime and make them into one super manga anime kind of thing. You know, take the elements of the slice of life stuff, the historical stuff, what have you, and all that. But with what I've written, I don't know if it would go over quite as well in, well, at least here in America or in the West. I don't know if it would go over well with the current population. So, uh, um, I have like gone back, read through what I've written, and add more to it here and there. I just, of course, been a while since I last did that. But follow up question: have you seen Acolyte? No, I haven't. I don't watch modern. I don't really watch a lot of modern. Like the only thing current that I'm like I am currently watching the current like Toonami lineup on Saturday nights. In fact, one of the things I was going to probably bring up with the full panel on Sunday here was I was just thinking back because, of course, one of the animes that's currently premiering on Toonami is Zone 100 Bucket List of the Dead, and I just recently also started rewatching School Live as well, which kind of got me thinking about like over the past 10 years how there seemed to be a lot of zombie apocalypse type anime and manga out there. I figured that might be a good thing to talk about when we have more of a full panel there. Let me word pictures. No, I don't know if I'd call my writing word. I just basically wrote out a story. Obviously, I would have to. If I ever do get to the point where I do decide to, if you're talking about, what I wrote, whatever. If I ever do decide to get to the point where I decide that maybe I will publish it, I would have to actually again contact. I'd have to come into contact with a artist to. The only problem is though, I've never published a comic or one, I've never published a comic or anything like that before. I wouldn't know what I'd be getting into. Two, I know that I would have, I'm on disability. So it's not like I could pay, you know, pay people to draw for me anyways. Okay. Let's see. And then three, considering the current culture climate right now that we're in, I don't know if my story would really go over too well because of the current climate we're in. All right, and as I said, it's based on, as I said, it's based more on manga and anime stylings and all that, and some of the elements in that. You know, um, so I would like to write a self-help book titled "Don't Be a D Tier Antagonist." That might be interesting. Let's see. Did you write a dialogue for it? Um. Well, I mean, there's dialogue in it. Yeah, there is conversation, but it's like basically okay. So I'm gonna turn my camera off for a moment here. I'm gonna pull it out. Just so, but I'm just going to turn my camera off for a moment, um, just so I can pull it out and show you guys what I'm talking about here. Or I guess I have to. Let me see if that will help. All right. I had it down here. All right, so this is a notebook. I just simply started writing a story. Just something popped in my head, and this is basically how I wrote it. Now I'm not going to try to read it now again here, but so just to show you that you know um, got a few pages written, but all I did was just write. Haven't actually written anything in a while in it. Like years. You know, so obviously, to transition that into, let's say, comic manga form, again, I'd need to, get out, if I ever do decide to like do more of it, maybe try to publish it, what have you. If I get more inspiration to continue the story, what have you. But anyways, I'm gonna turn the camera. I can put it back. All right. So, anyways, let me see the rest of this stuff here. Oh, wait. All right. So, Goodnight Spoon says, "Yeah, if you do it right, people can imagine the imagery much better than anyone can draw." Well, you guys know just from hearing me talk, I'm pretty detail oriented, so my writing's kind of the same way, obviously, because that's just how I communicate. I'm very, very detail oriented. So, um, but as I said, the only problem is since I was developing this more as kind of a anime manga styling, and basing some of the aspects off of some of the stuff that considered like more pretty in their culture. Um, I don't know if it would go over too well here in the West, even with a lot of the even with a lot of the co-creators I know here. So, um, art is supposed to be reflective of the time it was made. Um, it reflects society today. It doesn't matter if the climate is against it. Ah, Rick's here. Hey, Rick.
Hey, sorry, I am late. I lost track of time. I was doing I finally got my cousin to sing up Amazing Grace, and we were doing some editing on it, and I lost track of time, and I looked, oh crap, what time is it? And looking, it's like nine
Well,
thirty.
I've already done the article that I was
Hi.
going to do tonight.
Oh, you can't see me. I'm off to the side. Hi.
Actually, the guys were just asking me about, because Goodnight Spoon was
Okay.
just asking me if I'd ever
I'm
thought
hungry.
about like writing my own comic, and I was kind of explaining, not as much a comic. I do have a script that I just showed him, kind of in the anime manga styling. But before I tell you more about that, Rick, let me get through the
chats.
chat a little bit more here. Got a tagline, synopsis, or elevator pitch? Well, the title of it was called Blue Kimono, and basically, and again, and I will admit, it's kind of a self-insert type story, and that's another reason why. But at least I'll admit that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
at least I'll admit that it's a self-insert type story. It's my perception on what I would have liked it to be. Like certain situations. The title is called Blue Kimono, and the premise is the protagonist is at an anime convention, and he sees this young Japanese woman, late teens, early 20s. The protagonist is in their early to mid 20s, you know, and it leads to quite an interesting set of circumstances. It's like this girl catches his eye. She's in this good looking blue kimono, and it just leads to a whole bunch of interesting scenarios.
So, hold on. Yeah.
On the Patreon, I'm going to speed it up a little bit too.
So that's kind of what it is. I mean, I actually did read. I did read. I haven't written anything to it in a while. Right. But
yeah, so it sounds like it could be almost like an Archie comic type thing.
well, I have read it on my show a long time ago. Like I'll put it this way: when I did read it on one of my shows, it was still when Leto was still here with us because he was in the chat when I was reading it. So I mean, I could read it for you guys again and then see what you guys think. But again, the only problem is, especially with the current situation, and as I said, kind of a self-insert, indulgent piece. It's kind of something more I would like to happen, but then the risk I would run is how certain people might interpret it, and you know, and it could get kind of messy. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
So, especially now with what's going on. But anyways, let me get through the rest of these. Did you describe the panels and script and dialogue? How many pages is it? Quite a few pages. Um, could Rick draw for you? Well, if he wanted to, but as I said earlier, part of the problem with that is I'm on disability. It's not like I have a whole lot of money to be throwing at people, and plus I
Yeah.
was developing this more as an anime manga, so I don't know how, so we were just talking about Rick and how he's always late. Read it again. Yeah, I might as well because it seems like you guys are interested in it. So, young Japanese woman, Ed Piscor.
Well, I say save it for another night, because it's coming up at 22.
Oh yeah, on
The
40 minutes. Yeah, I mean, you're right at
so
that. I mean, I guess when I have more of you here with me on Sunday, I guess I could theoretically read it on Sunday and see what if I can get you and Metal and you and Metal in here at least, and then maybe hear what you guys have to think, especially Metal because Metal's actually read more manga and stuff like that.
yeah,
You know, um, it's kind of tricky because okay, so just to give you guys kind of an idea, so the main character, the protagonist, the main character is about 25 years old. Okay, so early to mid 20s, basically about 25 years old. The four female protagonists are all sisters who have basically come over from Japan, being sent by their grandfather to find somebody that is,
So it's a harem manga.
that element is in there, yeah. But here's the thing: the four sisters, okay. And if you know anything, if you've read any harem type manga, you know that they're obviously different ages, but doesn't necessarily mean there's anything per se, nasty going on too much. All right.
Yeah.
I'm a little, but there is a scene in there that maybe, and I'm a little reluctant, probably.
If you want, maybe before or after, probably after would be best. We can go over it before you read it live on air some night.
Yeah. Actually, what I could do too is maybe after we're done here, I can just read it to you when we're off the air right after the show, and then you can help me figure out if because the four sisters. Okay, so one sister's like so 13, 17, 21, 20. So actually the main protagonist is more like 20. I'd say the main protagonist is probably about 20 actually. The male protagonist is actually 20, not 25, because the oldest sister is 25. Oldest sister is 25. The second oldest sister is 21. The third sister is 17, and the youngest is 13. So they're like 4 years apart from one another. So, but Nick, I'll read it. I'll read it to you after the show.
Sounds good.
And then we can decide if it would be a good idea for me to share more openly. Even though I actually have done it before, I did it once before. I haven't got any slack for it, but then again, I hadn't necessarily. Even though some people might have figured out that it was a bit of self-insert, even if I hadn't said anything. But
the thing is, it's a different crowd now, and this crowd will tease you relentlessly for years to come after hearing it. So you're opening yourself up to that.
I think what Elk said a few minutes ago. So, but let me get through the rest of these chats here. Skip wrestling and read it. No, I think it would be better if I read it to Rick off camera first, just to see if it would be something that would be good for everybody to read, because there is some risque material in there, but again, it's in the vein of what you would see in mangas and anime, even though the protagonist is 20 years.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rick.
And the thing is, maybe I can help you, just besides just doing a cold reading, maybe I can help you figure out how to present it, decently. So, or how, if you get what I mean,
Right. Rick, let me at least show you. I mean, because I did just show that. Obviously, because you couldn't read it on the screen anyways. But let me pull the thing out again. And just show you like where exactly I wrote
it. While you're doing that, I'll read the rest of the chat. Goodnight Spoon says all stories are self-inserts. People write what they know. It's just how well they make it accessible to an audience. I'd say fairly true. Sometimes people try and write what they don't know. And sometimes what you know is not necessarily yourself either. But I can see where you're going with that. I can see it being true probably a lot of the times.
So
and then Goodnight Spoon Goodnight Spoon Josie jokingly says, "Is Mike joining the hair manga competition?" Over on my channel years ago, we had a competition for writing one. So he's teasing you about that, or me, or both.
Yeah. So
And then
basically, what I
Elf
did,
says about make a sister
what
trans.
I did a few years ago, Rick, was I just got inspired, and I just started writing something that just, as I said, the blue kimono. I gave you kind of the. I'm not going to read it now, of course, but I'm going to show you, like, so this is basically where I wrote it to, right?
So,
And I
so
just
this
wrote.
looks
I
more like
just,
you were. This looks more like you wrote it in a short story type um, thing,
yeah. I
or
mean,
in a story format rather than a comic. So something like that would take a little bit of time to break up and make into page. And,
right. Well, yeah.
you would have to.
I just, was inspired, just started writing, and just went with it, and then, I know there'd probably be some adaptations that would probably be needed, but again, I'll read it to you after we're done here, and then you can help me decide if I should even go for it. Because this was something that I was thinking of actually trying to do more of, but it's like I got stuck, and then it's one of those things where, okay, you get inspired, you stop for a while, and then it's
Yeah,
almost like you forget about it, and then you maybe go back to it and see, okay, well, what do you want? Sometimes things change.
yeah,
Like maybe
yeah,
who you were when you started writing it isn't necessarily who you are present day. So, or what
yeah. The thing is, too, no matter what, I think you can do something with it, and it might be something you can do in the future, write stories, and we can have something done where you can put it as some sort of content on your channel besides the niche news. And something I thought of for your channel, but I'm not sure how it would go over or whether you'd want to do it. Is making, say, the niche, this day in niche history, a segment to upload by itself and the wrestling wrap up. Just because then you could just title that and you could probably get more viewers with them as separate entities than this on the channel. But again, you're not very tech savvy, so you need somebody helping you do all that, so that becomes a challenge in and of itself.
yeah.
And you, as you said, you don't have a lot of
So,
money,
so
so
even with you even with you coming in late and getting into this side topic, I may end up still going just over an hour because I still got a couple things to do before we get done here. But anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the wrestling wrap up here, and I'm gonna try to do it a bit even quicker than
normal.
you. Yeah, only because we did kind of get caught up in conversation, but with
Oh,
that,
just
so
just one before you do, just one question and a quick overview, maybe. What was the article that you did read that I missed?
all right, so we read an Avi article op-ed about how Free Comic Book Day started. It's over on Bounding into Comic. Of course, you can go back watch the first part of the show
I feel
if
so inspired.
yeah, if you like. So it was an interview that was done by some people at, I guess, Golden Gate Express, which I believe is a college newspaper for San Francisco State University, because they said SFSU's Golden Gate Express, which I figured was probably San Francisco State University. Um, so, um, so with that, anyways, and you got both my, not just the link, but you also got the other thing I sent you today too, right? The
Oh, about
on
Friday,
the
yeah,
material we'll be doing on Friday.
yeah.
All
I
right.
gotta look into that because I wanted to do some things for
Yeah.
Friday for that.
Offer. Or forgot.
We forgot how to type.
Abby forgot. Oh yeah, because one of the things we were talking about quite a bit is okay. You know how sometimes I get stuck mentally. I kind of freeze, and sometimes you have to finish my sentences for me. We were
Yeah.
seeing some of that in Avi typing too. Apparently, he would like double up. It's like he'd be basically repeating certain things at times. You know, um, typos where he'd be like there is kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I figured he's probably tired when he was typing it out or whatever. So, but with that, so today is Wednesday, June 5th. So let's talk a little bit about um, wrestling. So one of the big pieces of news between as WWE is furthering the idea of potentially starting a kind of a co-promotion with TNA. Of course, current TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace made her wrestling debut on NXT last night, defeating Stevie Turner, beating her with what she sometimes calls the Grace Driver, or the Grace Driver, or what they were calling the Juggernaut Driver, which is a half Nelson pump handle driver. Um, and her lead up to, I guess, this weekend's NXT event, pay per view, in which she'll be challenging Roxanne Perez for the NXT Championship. Also, on Power, last night's Power event, as I pull that up, advancing to the quarterfinals of the Crockett Cup, the country gentlemen at the number 11 seed pulled off what some would have considered, because of their seeding, a bit of an upset against the Savages of Samoa. So the country gentlemen, the Kazana brothers of AJ and Casey Kazana, defeated the Savages of Samoa of Alofa of the famous Anaoi family. Basically, he's kind of like a cousin of like Roman Reigns and the Usos and all that, and Adivalu. And in the other first round Crockett Cup match, the former United States champions, U.S. Tag Team champions, Immortals, Kratos, and Odinson, defeated the Kids, Jackson Drake and Levy. And then in the main event, saw number one contenders match to see who would face Kenzie Page for the NWA World Women's Championship at the Crockett Cup event. Ella, former pre-empowered member, former partner of both Kenzie and Kylie Page, Ella Envy, defeated in a triple threat match, defeated Kylie Page and Taylor Rising. So, anyways, that's all I'll say on the wrestling topic. As I said, we're trying to get through this stuff a little bit quicker.
Well, Elk will like that.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of gonna go over kind of an updated card of what's to come up at these the like Crockett Cup, Clash at the Castle and all that. But again, we're kind of running a little low on time anyway. So with that, I'm now gonna go ahead and going to go ahead and do this day in each history today. Today is June the 5th, 2024. So let's take a look back at this day in each history. History! So first off, I'm going to head back 15 years ago, as on this date, 15 years ago today, from Chaos Project, the Uta Wararu Mono OVA was released on this date back in 2009. So 15 years ago today, the Uta Wararu Mono OVA from Chaos Project was released on this date back in 2009. And Rick, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to give you a chance to intro or outro here. We're just gonna try to get through this real
Yeah,
quick.
no problem. Well, the outro hasn't come up yet. Technically, you could still do
Yeah,
that, but intro is no problem. I was running late, so that's sort of my fault.
yeah. So with that, let's see. On this date back in 2014, Dora the Explorer was canceled on this date back in 2014 until the unaired episodes premiered 5 years later in 2009. So the first cancellation of Dora the Explorer on Nickelodeon took place on this date 10 years ago today in 2014. So
Wah,
now
wah, wah.
moving ahead to 2019. On this date in 2019, over in Japan, John Moxley defeated Juice Robinson for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship on this date 5 years ago today over in Japan. On this date 5 years ago today, John Moxley defeated Juice Robinson for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship on this date in 2019. And 2019 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. And also on this date in 2019,
Also, but
also on this date in 2019, um, the 10th issue of Dreaming from DC's Vertigo imprint went on sale on this date in 2019. So 5 years ago today, as well, the 10th issue of Dreaming from DC's Vertigo imprint went on sale on this date back in 2019. Story was Empty Shell, written by Simon Spurrier, with Bill Giss Everly doing the art, lettering by Simon Boland, and then Matthias Lopes did the coloring. With that, that's all I have for you guys tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Now, before we leave, of course, I'm going to go ahead and give Rick at least a chance to do an outro if he wants to share any links. Rick, I think you know the shtick, right?
yeah, well, so there is a link. It's to my latest video, part 6 of doing up the Canadian Shield at Pier 4 here in Hamilton, painting him up. There is one more part to go, which will be up sometime tomorrow. Also, tomorrow morning, I am going to be uploading on a new channel, not mine, but I've done the editing. My cousin, as I was alluding to earlier, why I was late, sang Amazing Grace. We did a bit of editing on it because there was a couple parts that messed up in the initial recording, so we had to edit, get things, cohesive, or added a bit of a background. So that's going to be going up on her channel tomorrow morning, Annie Chapel. So I will put a link to that in my community tab, and of course I will be plastering it all on social media. So
I'm sure you'll be sharing that too, right? You'll be sharing that.
Yeah. I'll be sharing it different places. I'm going to be sharing it on my community tab. That way people can find it. Oh, the slavery subjects.
All right. So, anything more you want to add, Rick, or shall we?
That's good for now. So.
All right. So, with that, I thank everybody for being here. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow night. Most possibly with because even though they haven't, as far as I know, they haven't put it up yet. But most likely, if it does get put up sometime tonight, we'll be doing the Indie Comic Showcase. If not, we'll have as always, more niche news to go over. Also on Friday, Rick will be back here with me again, as we'll be looking back to February 1940, in which we will be covering comics that went on sale from Standard Comics, and I already sent him the material we'll be focusing on. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I will see you all tomorrow.
Yes,
Bye.
tomorrow. It's only a day away.